is iRacing.
When it comes to universal experiences on iRacing, Summit Point remains a place any road racer winds up doing countless laps on. So familiarity will be at an all-time high for our competitors as we get ready for the Skip Barber Sim Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is former racer Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. While iRacers know this place inside and out, it's not as well known outside of that circle, so let's take a closer look with our track guide. Welcome to Summit Point Raceway. Once the stomping grounds of IMSA and Trans Am vehicles thundering through the West Virginia mountains, this circuit is now mainly used for club racing and performance driver training. Situationed a couple hours west of Washington, D.C., there are actually two entirely separate circuits that can be tackled here on the iRacing service. The main circuit is just shy of 2 miles in length, including 10 turns, and can be chopped off into the short version, which has 9 turns and only 1.5 miles for a lap. The Jefferson Circuit is its own 1.1-mile piece of pavement with a mere 7 turns and uniquely can be run in reverse. Both tracks are astonishingly narrow and provide quite a technical challenge. On the main course, the most popular place to pass is down into the first corner hairpin. While some drivers may try a brave dive into turn 5, the frighteningly fast-kinked entry makes it prone to things going wrong quickly. Between there and turn 9, it's essentially a single-file affair with nothing but tight and twisty bends snaking their way around. The Jefferson Circuit isn't used as often, and because there are a few straights long enough to get a run on someone, most drivers are forced to wait for a mistake to pounce on. Otherwise, qualifying will be key. Believe it or not, IMSA's GT class raced here in the late 80s, and even Can-Am stopped in back in 86. While it probably sees much more competition here in the virtual world, it's easy to see why plenty of real drivers love to take their vehicles out to try and tackle this historic Appalachian venue. So, a lot of drivers might know this place inside and out, Joey, but it's still going to be a bit of a challenge.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's kind of a grassroots style, club race style racetrack, but that is perfect for these cars. 10 turns and just a tick shy of 2 miles. Look at how long this front straightaway is. So turn number 1 got a nice brake zone to make those aggressive passing maneuvers, but it actually continues to wrap around to the right side around turn number 2. So it actually continues a very far long ways around that turn 1 and 2 complex. Turn number 3, the exit there can also provide a little bit of shenanigans with the gravel out there. Got to keep the race car on the racetrack, and then down into what is sector number 2. The turn 5 area, that brake zone, very, very bumpy, and it leads off of that high-speed right-hander, so you have to have good car balance going into there. And then through the autocross section of turns 6, 7, accelerate your way through turn number 9 and through the fast right-hander of turn number 10. You got to make sure to get the exit right, but it can provide some dramatic late race passes to the start-finish line.
That's one thing I do love about this place is the battle really goes on all the way to the end. You got to keep it up because you could get sniped all the way to that line. As for today's race, going to be another relatively short one as they don't have too long of events here in the Skip Barber series. Only 18 laps, and these laps are just barely over a minute, so it's not going to last all that long. It is an open setup series, but these cars are pretty basic, so drivers won't be able to do too much to make a difference other than get them more comfortable to their driving style. They do have a spare car if they wind up getting damaged. With the race so short, you're not going to be able to make much use of it, frankly. It is a standing start, which is also quite different from what these cars saw in real life, and you need to practice those starts. They do have a DQ at 17 incidents. Hopefully, we don't have to worry about anybody reaching that point, as it looks like we are into the qualifying session now. I'm kind of curious how important that track position is going to be here because it's such a narrow track, Joey.
I think it's going to play huge dividends if you can qualify inside, call it the top 5, those front few rows up there. And you see the weather is also coming down on this racetrack. So this is going to be an interesting session here in qualifying. Obviously, you got to put your best foot forward. And with the rain conditions, I think it's going to play huge dividends in this race.
I'm showing officially it is considered very lightly wet. Now these cars, these tires are grooved, so they will not be changing into wet tires. They run these same ones, wet or dry. It does look like it's coming down somewhat heavily. I wouldn't say super heavy, but it does look like there's a fair bit of raindrops coming towards the driver as we ride on board with Victor. And I can look at the weather forecast here. I do see a lot of clouds on the radar right now, still sweeping in. So we are still set to see this probably carry on.
I do have to chuckle to myself that it does say light on the rain because, yeah, it's coming down. It almost looks like hail that the drivers are dealing with out there right now. But call it just a tick over 5 minutes still here in qualifying. Riding on board here with Victor in the number 15 car. This is the exit of turn number 9, and that's a common area. The drivers are always trying to get greedy with that throttle pedal, get accelerating as soon as possible, and kind of the same thing here in turn number 10. You got to be careful of that edge of the track. Barney is always watching, and in qualifying, you don't want to pick up those 1Xs.
Certainly, that will delete the lap immediately. And thought we had some laps, but apparently not. These are among the first that we're starting to see put down. Martinez provisionally the quickest at a 24.2. Raul Rosez Guardia, though, has bested him by a little bit less than a tenth of a second. Let's see what Melia does as the number 1. Actually, is just starting his first time lap, so he hasn't set one yet.
Gonna take a look at him as he goes through what is, I believe this is coming up to what is turn number 3 here on the racetrack. This is such a fast left-hander here, and you look at the gravel on the outside, wagging the tail, flirting with that track limit. It's okay here in qualifying, but when we get to lap number 1, lap number 2, lap number 3 of the race, when you're really fighting the cars side by side, you see how loose they can get. Any sort of side-to-side lateral movement can result in contact with another car.
Wow. So it still says very lightly wet, but it looks like the grip is definitely going away. You can see how slippery it was for Jose down into turn 5. We've kind of taken to calling that yard sale corner here on GSRC over the years, even though that's not officially a corner name out there. But often, especially on the first lap, you can see big pileups into there. Hence our sort of cheeky name for it. But out of the final corner and towards the start-finish line, Jose is going to cross the line, put down his first timed lap, and it's a 24.7. That is going to be good enough for 8th.
And I know you're kind of being a little bit amusing about that yard sale corner, turn number 5 down there, but look, that is going to be the action area on lap number 1. It always is in the dry, and then you combine it with these wet conditions, so the cars are going to be on the absolute limit of traction going through that high-speed turn number 4, and then have to balance the cars on the brakes not to lock up to go piling into the group in front of you. Oh, better hold your hands tight going through there because it is going to get busy on lap number 1.
No doubt. This is a lot of experienced, skilled drivers. I mean, we're even up to 8 to nearly 9,000 I rating for some of these top drivers here. While it looks like Alejandro Sanchez, good enough for 10th on his first time by. He's got plenty of time for that second lap. Guardia still holds the pole at a 23.750 over Jeff Randall, about a quarter of a second quicker than the number 3 car.
Watch this number 2 feed its way out onto this short shoot straightaway before hitting the final corner here at Summit Point Raceway. This fast turn at number 10 gets it tucked in nicely to that apex, powers out of the corner actually. Let's see if Philip Burke is going to improve his time. It was a 125.9 as he crosses the line, 125.0. So he does improve, and it jumps him up into 11th.
So that could have been quite important. We only have one driver failing to set a time thus far. It's Ivan Fornos here in the number 19. He's going to finish his second lap, 26 flat, which unfortunately is not going to take him out of that last position. So he will stay put as he was. Back to Sanchez. He's just getting ready to finish this second time by, trying to improve on that 24.9. And I'm not showing this as a competitive lap, unless my timing and scoring is not telling the truth, although he was very loose coming off the final turn.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be an improvement. In fact, he's already off the gas, so he knows that it's not going to actually improve. And I think that's pretty much going to be it in terms of qualifying efforts out there. I think that maybe Ivan... No, oh, I'm sorry. We've already hit that checkered flag.
Yep, the qualifying is over. And at least everybody did get one on the board, but there's going to be a few that are regretting maybe not getting a better opportunity to improve upon their lap time. Up at the top of it, it is Raul Roses Guardia, our pole sitter. Jeff Randall will start second. Next to him, Pepe Fuentes starts from P3 with Ricardo Martinez in fourth. Roberto Suarez will be P5 today. Jose Mella in the sixth position is then followed by Bruno Santamaria in seventh, and Victor Guardo in the eighth position. Row 5 sees Rostolov Danhel in ninth and Alejandro Sanchez starting in 10th.
In 11th, we've got Philip Burke in the number 2 car. Then we've got Alex Benyako in 12th place. Gabriel Herrero in 13th. Brandon Crosta here in 14th. Benji Raig in 15th. Pablo Joglar in 16th. Jermaine Suarez, 17th. Agustin Tina in 18th. Alvaro Reino in 19th. And Ivan Fornos rounding out our 20-car field.
They're all lined up and ready to go. And just double checking on our weather situation, we do still see what looks to be precipitation overhead on the radar, but it doesn't look like it's fairly obvious from what we're seeing on this blimp view right now. So maybe it has let up at this stage. We'll see what it looks like once the cars get down into that first corner. Still showing is very lightly wet on the track surface as we wait for them to get started with today's event. Race number 3 of the season here in these Skip Barbers. And I think we might just about have everybody out there. There's quite a bit of blinking, though, from Pepe Fuentes, unfortunately. Hopefully that will clear up before all is said and done.
You don't ever want to see that on the grid, especially with one of these standing starts. Can get a little bit nervous, especially with everybody going out there. But lights are on.
And there, now we can see that the rain is still coming down, and the green flag is out as they all start to take off down towards turn 1. Looks like a pretty decent start for everybody. In fact, up at the front, they went single file immediately down to the inside to try to cover off. Guardia still leads. Randall does have a bit of a run. Has used that slipstream to come up to the outside, but he breaks a little bit earlier, and he goes wide anyways as everybody tries to measure the grip. Remember, this is a bit into the unknown there at that first corner, but amazingly, we get through clean.
Seemed like it might have been a little bit slippery on the outside as Guardia escapes in the lead. And now we come up to this tricky turn number 3. This is a fast left-hander. Cars are wiggling all over the place. And Joe, now we come down to the excitement corner, yard sale.
That kink down to the inside. You can see they can't quite keep it flat out before they have to slam onto the brakes. Drivers again trying to cover down to the inside. We do have one incident towards the back off screen as a couple cars made some contact, but I don't see anybody with a major wreck as Ricardo is just seesawing back and forth at the wheel, trying to figure out where that limit is as he tries to battle for third.
Yeah, and look at the limit of grip. These drivers are just pushing it to that absolute 10/10ths out there, squirming all around as we come up to this fast turn number 10 here. It is still Raul Guardia leading the pack in the number 6 car. Randall is going to be in second place, but look at the run from third place. Pepe Fuentes onto the front straightaway.
Randall caught a lot of that gravel to the outside, and that's why he has lost a ton of speed. Martinez also moves into third. Fuentes has his eyes set on potentially try to take the lead behind them. Look at Jeff Randall as cars try to get it back under control, and one is going to go all the way out to the grass. I think that was Fuentes once again.
That was amazing going down the front straightaway. I don't know if you saw that, but the number 14 car of Suarez actually had his right wheels in the grass, had to pull it back onto the racing line, almost lost it into the brake zone. So great job of car control, but now he's actually going to get past as it looks like this battle for what is 8th place starting to heat up in this narrow section of the racetrack. This is Suarez. This is the car that I was just talking about. Watch out coming back out onto the racetrack. Thankfully, just a single car incident.
Oh, but he does find the tire barrier. It looks like the car will be able to keep going, but he's going to have a little bit of damage on the nose, which will affect his straight line speed. I believe that was contact with Randall that we saw the two of them make, and Suarez came out the worst between them.
It is just so slippery out there with these cars. You see the back ends just squirming all around. These drivers are trying to feed in the throttle, and it is just extremely slippery. You have to deal with it on the front end going into the corners, and then the drivers are just dealing with it when they step on the gas.
Benji here to 16th after being overtaken by Tina in the number 17. And despite of this not being the longest of laps, they still get quite a bit of tow down this main straight, and that's keeping many of these battles close together, including this one down for about 9th position. Grasta on the inside trying to defend on Suarez, but Germain is not able to make that one stick. They're still side by side between Hoglar and Burke behind them, while it does look like Suarez is going to get another bite at things down to 3.
See if he's able to slip up the inside. Almost contact there between the two of them, and Brandon kind of has to lift out of the gas, but now he's going to have an excellent run, the over-under attempt. Let's see if he can hang on the outside of what is turn number 4. It is so slippery out here. Looks like Suarez is going to slide right in front of the nose there, hang on to that place that he was able to overtake, 9th place.
Still has his nose in a little bit here as Brandon tries to defend. They're again going to get away with a little bit of contact, and that will force Hoglar to have to back up. Here's a replay on Benyako getting into a little bit of trouble. And again, once the car starts to go sideways, that's going to be hard to get it back.
And then just the corner after that as well was a couple cars going down into turn number 5 on the first lap, but this looks to be a pass for the lead. I didn't see this anywhere earlier, but Martinez had actually overtaken Guardia at some point on this previous lap, so now the number 6 car wants to clean air again.
If they start battling, they're not that far ahead of 3rd, 4th, and 5th, who are themselves, you can see, going side by side in the background. But Guardia will hold on to the lead coming through turn 1. Now out of 2, he goes defensive up towards 3. That was a smart move, trying to cover what was then the outside, but becomes the inside here.
Yeah, you can usually just kind of slide the front end across turn number 3. Look at how close Martinez is to that back end of the number 6 car as the second group is closing it in on every single corner. Our front 2 leaders are battling, and now Guardia, a huge slide. How did he hang on to it? Now he's really got to catch the car in turn number 5. He leaves the door open for Martinez, somehow is on the right side of the road, still dealing with a very slippery car, and now going to hang on to the lead.
Melia sees a chance to maybe try to get into the fun, is not able to capitalize. Martinez holds on to 2nd place, but you're right, that next group is now very much here. Guardia is all over the place today as he once again has a slide coming out of turn 9, and he is slow because of it. Martinez will back out before they get into turn 10. Maybe he's setting up for the exit here.
Well, they're all just all over the place trying to get the grip out of these cars, and here comes the run from Martinez. Look at how long this front straightaway is here at Summit Point Raceway. Can Jose in that 3rd place make it 3 wide? He's going to go up the middle. Who's going to come out of turn number 1 in front? Is it going to be that number 1 car? He goes from 3rd to 1st.
Brilliant move with quite a bit of bravery thrown in on a wet track. The number 1 is now P1. Guardia into 2nd. Martinez into 3rd in a defensive posture coming into turn 3. Gets a little tap from behind from Fuentes, who wants his way back into the fun.
Fuentes, you're right, was pretty much pushing on the transmission of Martinez there in the 3rd place position. So what was a top 2 scrap has become a top 5 battle.
Take a look from onboard Dan Hell into the turn 4 craziness.
This was the opening lap, Joe.
Oh, good response time, but it didn't help because those behind did not get the memo. The 20 gets a little bit shoved off track.
I'm going to expand on your point, though. I think that Dan Hell did a great job to avoid everything in front of him, and yeah, just kind of got a rear-end tap as we jump back up here for the battle for the lead.
Top 3 now, as it looks like Jeff Randall's lost a little bit over the course of this lap. Not sure if we missed a mistake because they were certainly much closer than this. Coming down into 5, Guardia gets a run, uses the slipstream, and pops out to the left-hand side. Melia covering the inside is Ricardo Martinez. Where does he try to go? Is he stuck behind, or does he try the 3 wide? No, he will remain behind the pair of them as they go wheel to wheel down through 1 and 2, trying to pinch down. Guardia wants to get closer to the inside of that corner, but now he has the advantage once again. He'll have the inside into 3.
Yeah, let's see what these green wheels. Jose's really going to push the issue on the outside. That was a daring maneuver, but is able to keep the track position. And now look at that third place car, Martinez. I was going to say that's not a good place to look 3 wide. Still side by side going into what is turn number 5 here. Guardia on the inside, Jose on the outside. Look at the respect, the room given between both of these competitors. Oh, crazy loose in turn number 6. Jose saves it somehow.
Woo! And doesn't even make contact, I think, which is incredible. That you'll notice this, Joey. The 2 races I've called so far this season, the drivers at the top end of this series have they leave nothing out there on the table. They will race as close as they dare, and yet somehow it remains clean racing 9 times out of 10.
I'm just wondering how the front wings are still attached to these cars, because it almost seems like they're running over them with the rear wheels. Here we go, side by side again.
It is kind of amazing that they don't lose more bodywork in all this craziness. And we are going to go 3 wide this time. Martinez on the outside. Will that give him a little bit better grip on the racing line? Down to the inside. Guardia is going to be the strongest, but at the most shallow angle, cutting back. Martinez almost gets a run, but he gets balked at the apex. Now he's stuck battling for P2 with Jose.
And then once again, on the wrong side of the racetrack, we saw Jose hang tough on the outside the previous lap, but I don't think Martinez is going to do that. Room being given from Guardia up front, so they all kind of stack up there at the apex. I don't think that anybody's got a huge run going into this turn 4-5 complex. I expect them all just to keep it on the limit of traction, keep it on that racing line. If anything, Guardia was maybe a little bit wide there in turn number 5 as we check in on this battle for 8th place.
Yeah, still plenty of fun happening farther down. That's Hoglar versus Guarardo. And right now, Pablo's got the advantage. Victor has to back out, although he cuts back underneath down into the carousel. Long series of right-hand corners, all one after the other. Behind them, we check in on Costa, who has just managed, or has been passed, rather, by Santa Maria there for 10th.
I do have something to report. Jose in the number 1 car has spun it by himself in turn number 5. This is the replay here. Look at him just get loose. Oh, just a little bit too loose. Slides off to the left side. Doesn't make any contact with the wall, but unfortunately that fight for the lead is no longer for the number 1.
Yeah, and he's 5 seconds behind them, so that's going to be a massive gap to make up in these cars. As we check back in, 2 by 2, we're going to plunge down into turn 1. Once again, Hoglar at the front of it, and they actually go single file before they get to the corner.
Does that surprise you?
Yes, actually.
No, I love it. We've seen so much side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel racing in the first 8 laps. You know, we're not even halfway through, so it'll be interesting. There's still a lot of rain coming down on the racetrack. I don't think it'll dry up by any means, so I think this grip level will continue.
Looks like another fight back here from Santa Maria, and dips the wheels just briefly into the dirt before able to get it slowed down, and Brandon will have to settle for 11th place. Bruno now up into 10th position. You know, we see a lot of the MX-5s and the Skippies and the Formula V put on tracks like Watkins Glen, Road America. This is the sort of stuff I love to see. I feel like you get so much more interesting racing on these style of tracks.
I think that it fits the car nicely. Riding along here with Sanchez looking at this battle in front of him for what is 7th place. But I think that if you get, call it the Skippies on Watkins Glen, sure, it's a crazy good racetrack to go racing on. But it doesn't really fit the car. Here at Summit Point and these cars, right, it's pretty much top speed here on the front straightaway. The cornering speeds fit the car very well. The car is relatively narrow and small. Oh, I don't know if that was contact or just a lockup, but either way, it looks like Sanchez is actually going to pick up 2 positions here in turn number 1.
Yeah, I fear that there was contact there for Guardo, and as he comes back on, he gets some more contact for his troubles as Danhel was just trying to go through the turn, found a car suddenly re-entering right in front of him. Reig will also manage to get by as up in the right-hand corner, the action getting quite fierce now for that 12th position while we continue to watch the battle for P8. Sanchez on Burke, and Sanchez going to have to relinquish as Burke holds on to P7.
This fight down here into this, call it sector number 2, is pretty scrappy. You see the 2 cars side by side. I believe that is actually Ivan and Victor back here, and then the front of the train is Danhel and Benji. So all 4 of these drivers getting their elbows out, but they haven't made any sort of contact that I've seen. Just some pretty aggressive racing lines, some good dives down into the braking zones where you got momentum. They try to carry it and try to make these passes. Here comes Victor here in the number 15 passing Benji, so they get it done and then follow back in line, single file into turn number 10, which we now focus up on. Pepe Fuentes officially made the pass up into third.
Another interesting point, I checked on the radar. It does look like the precipitation might clear up in the near future. Granted, I don't think the race is long enough that it'll affect it too much, but it could begin to dry a little bit, again, changing the nature of the grip. Coming down into the corner between Guardo ahead of Danhel, and Victor is able to sneak his way through as looks like, no, excuse me, it was Danhel that wound up going wide there. So Rostolov found himself going a little bit too deep into one.
Just that can show you how easy just a very, very small mistake can bite you. Not just one positions, but multiple positions gone. Thankfully, he's back out on the racing line here. Didn't lose too much in terms of huge amounts of time. And I actually think I see a 5th player joining the queue. I believe that's Augustin back there in the number 17 car joining the party.
You're right. So it's now going to be a 5-car battle if things remain as they are, although Guardo at the front of them starting to run away, and he is slightly out of position, we have to remember, so I wouldn't be shocked if he was able to separate. Meanwhile, Burke up at the front, and we're looking at cross to 2, is going to go side by side down through the final turn. That's going to cost them a lot of time to those 2 in front of them, but each have their own little battle now as they once again pick up speed to over 110 miles an hour down the main straight.
This is the battle just in front of them, about 100 yards down the track, a braking duel between Burke and Sanchez. Burke is in the yellow and white car. Sanchez is in that blue machine. Looks like Burke with the shorter distance in turn number 1 and 2. Remember how I said how long turn number 1 and 2 is? Well, if you can shorten that distance, kind of think of like an autocross or the short distance around a big oval, it can definitely kind of put you in front of that car that you're battling. Look at everybody behind going through the gravel.
They do have incident limits, we have to remember, so they can't kick up that gravel too much. Philip Burke gets loose and catches it coming through turn 4. I don't think I've seen this many cars almost completely sideways through turn 4 and get away with it as much as this race.
It seems like they've got some good steering angles, some good car control out here. And oh no, unfortunately, I can say on timing and scoring, Guardo had an issue. Here's Philip Burke in the save. Look at the steering angle, full opposite lock. Great job not to go tank slapping back into the number 16 as competitor. Great piece of car control.
Really crossed hands and everything through there. Philip Burke remains in P8, but now Sanchez able to at least get by him. Brandon in the number 7 with the Braun livery on his machine, trying to see if he can catch up a little bit more to make a challenge on Philip, but I don't think he's got enough down this straightaway. The Rooster Tails have felt like they've been getting just a little bigger. That's way deep on the brakes there for Brandon, almost to the point that he's able to sneak by around the outside, but doesn't quite work. Meanwhile, we've got a replay of some contact, and Guardo, for the second time this race, gets... Oh, no, excuse me. That was the initial contact, it looks like.
Yeah, that was going down into turn number 1, and then I did say that he was involved in another incident. I didn't see what it was, but he has definitely kind of fallen down the order, unfortunately.
We're hearing that he may have just had a solo spin, which is going to just add to his woe here today as we once again go at it. As Brandon's not giving up on this one, he spies an opportunity, but Burke's white and yellow machine is going to make him work for it. And he'll work as hard as he can. He's almost got it through, wheel to wheel, down through the S's, onto the back straight here, and he is ahead. That was a well-earned 8th place by Brandon.
See about the slipstream battle here, because all 4 of these cars are plenty close enough that the run out of turn number 10 can dictate that braking zone pressure. And sure enough, the lead of the pack, Sanchez gets a poor exit out of turn number 10. We're already side by side. There goes Brandon. We're 3 wide. Philip Burke's going to push it to the inside. Bruno Santamaria going to go all the way to the outside. 3 wide going into turn number 1. Who is most brave on the brakes? Certainly seems like Brandon on the inside line has the advantage here, accelerating out of turn number 2.
Poor Bruno, who we were watching on board with, had no place to go in all of this. He was completely blocked in by those in front of them. As once again we go Noah's Ark down into Wagon Bend. Very appropriate with this wet weather that we're experiencing. Philip Burke will have just a nose over Costa coming off of that turn 3 down into 4.
Look at how aggressive Bruno is being through turn number 4. Now deep on the brakes, still 2 by 2 through turn number 5 here. Philip Burke is just looking to clear his competitors. I think he might be able to get on the gas and finally sort back into single file as we go through turn 7 and 8 here through turn number 9. This right-hander, you got to get on the gas here as you avoid the apex curb. Look at how sideways the number 11 car got.
Santamaria getting tired of nobody talking about Bruno. He is making sure that he makes himself known here in this group. I love the aggression that we're getting out of that multicolored car. And we're down to 5 laps to go now. It is right at the end. He's hanging it out with his wheels drifting through the gravel.
Was a little bit too fast on entry to turn number 10, that multicolored number 11 car. So, yeah, definitely caught him out a little bit on the exit there. Brandon defensive into turn number 1. Look at how deep. I'm sorry, that was Philip Burke defensive on Brandon going into turn number 1. He is crazy good on that brake pedal pressure, but couldn't get it done around the outside.
Yeah, they're taking it as far as humanly possible into that corner without giving up too much. On the exit, another big slide, 4-wheel drift for Philip Burke. His speed has been compromised. Brandon will know it, and he's going to look around the outside. He knows it could be the inside of turn 5 if he hangs tough around 4, which he does. Here comes Santamaria once again, trying to pick up on Philip Burke's mistake. He's going to force him the long way around through 5, but into 6, it goes back in favor of the yellow and white machine, but not enough as he gives it up.
Seems like the momentum is actually a little bit better through turn number 6 and 7 in that middle groove. Oh, Philip Burke with a huge wiggle somehow still manages to collect it all up. This is our leader, or I'm sorry, a battle for what is 4th place on the screen in the top right. This is actually a recovery drive from Jose in the number 1 car.
Yeah, and he's fallen even farther down. It was about 5 seconds from the lead. It's now 7, so he has lost ground. While the main group on our screen remains single file, it was a side-by-side battle as we switch over to Jose, and he's going to take that 4th off of Jeff Randall. But I have a feeling these two with the slipstream are going to be stuck fighting each other for some time.
Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to Jose in that number 1 car. Remember, he had that kind of that solo incident where he spun off the racetrack, but that last lap time out of him, a 126.0. There's nobody even within 3/4 of a second of that number 1 car. He just doesn't have the track position to get up to the front.
A frustrating shame, no doubt for him. Riano here in 11th as caught the back of what is becoming a bigger and bigger group. Sanchez now joining Burke, Santamaria, and Costa. We've got a 5-car battle who are at least briefly single file. We switch back to Guardia, though. And when did he drop Martinez? Were they not closer earlier?
I think that he's just been edging it out that little bit every single lap out here, and just a tenth or two, it certainly adds up. But you're right, he has gapped it out 3 seconds now over Ricardo Martinez.
Checking to see, last lap for Guardia was 26.5, and it was, okay, yeah, it was a 26.5. So you're right, wow. Well, he must have really just kind of been sneaky with his pace compared to everybody else around us. Martinez not able to compare in the number 10. Fuentes could maybe creep up on him if he's got a little bit more speed, but he only has 3 laps to make up a second and a half.
I think the main storyline is right here, this huge, call it top 10 battle for, what is it, about 7th through 10th place, 11th place right here has been a huge scrap. And I'm also wondering if Jose in that number 1 car can actually get up there and challenge Pepe Fuentes. He's 2.2 seconds back, but to your point, there's only 3 laps, really 2.5 laps remaining. I just don't think the time is there. The speed is there, but the time isn't.
No, you run out of race eventually, and especially if you've got that many cars fighting behind you, unless they play very nice, I don't think you're going to get pure fast laps out here at the very end. Again, Bruno, very effective down into 4 and 5. He's really figured out how to sneak that car down to the inside of yard sale.
Flirts with the limit on the edge of the track on driver's left. Typically, you want to avoid the painted areas on a wet surface, and Bruno was all over those curves, but everybody is huge wiggles coming out of turn number 9. When I was racing Spec Miatas, the best way I could describe to somebody is that we are on the absolute limit of traction. If you could stand at the apex and just nudge the quarter panel, it would be enough to make the car slide. That's exactly the limit that these drivers are at in these wet conditions. Any little addition to the throttle makes the thing slide.
German Suarez coming out of the final turn, and sees a car off, maybe overreacts a little bit, and that is the undoing of the number 12 with a hard hit into the tires.
It finally got some nose damage on one of these cars.
Meanwhile, there was a mistake from Sanchez that allowed Burke through, but it also separated this group. You can see here, although it created a battle between Riaño and Sanchez now, and Alvaro moves into 10th. 2 laps to go. 1.5 really laps left for these vehicles.
I have a feeling it's going to get pretty feisty here. Here comes Santa Maria up the inside of turn number 5. That move that you called, Joe. He is just so aggressive and then almost loses it on the gas as it's a 3-car pack directly behind him.
Yeah, Philip Burke's gotten swallowed back up into that group and is trying his best to get out of there so he can catch up to those 2 in front of him and maybe take another position, but it is proving very difficult amongst them as they once again come down towards the run, towards turn 10. And Riaño and Sanchez now squabbling amongst themselves might allow Philip Burke to run back down Santa Maria and Crosta. White flag is out for Guardia, who is still about 2 seconds ahead of Martinez.
Check the run coming out onto the front straightaway here, and actually all 3 of these cars, all 5 of the cars kind of get equal runs. Maybe Bruno going down into turn number 1, and then we see this 3-pack now finally go defensive here on the inside. Philip Burke defending that position, almost contact between the 2 here. Now it's neck and neck.
Yeah, my goodness, Bruno was very lucky that Crosta gave him just a little room there at the apex, because I think they would have had an accident as we go wheel to wheel between Sanchez and Burke coming up into turn 3. Wagon bend goes the way of Riaño as Alvarez tries his best to run away up in front of them. Sanchez has positioned himself well once again into his favorite spot, round the outside into turn 4, and he slices up to 11th with ease.
Nicely done, and now our leader, Raul Guardia, is on turn number 10. He only has 1 corner remaining to collect that checkered flag.
A very wet race today has seen celebrations for the number 6 as he will come away with the victory over Martinez at Summit Point. Martinez still getting a 2nd position, and Pepe Fuentes a nice fight back into 3rd.
And then Jose in the number 1 car does recover back into 4th, actually finishes just over a second behind Pepe Fuentes, so he was hunting him down. Here's that battle for what is 8th place here. Looks like Brandon's going to hang on to it in the number 7 car over Bruno Santamaria, and then the rest of them. Philip Burke, I think, did he manage to get that 9th place? It was so close, timing and scoring and swapping around on me.
He finished 11th, but 9th to 11th was separated by 23 hundredths of a second. 3 wide to the line between them. I want to give credit to Crosta in the number 7. He beat Bruno Santamaria with a pass at the last corner. He really made good use of that final exit.
You got to drive it all the way to start finish. You never know what can happen, but some aggressive racing in the middle of the pack, I think, was the fireworks here at Summit Point Raceway. Of course, Raul Guardia with a masterclass up front of wet weather performance, but that mid-pack fight, call it 6th through 11th place, was something to watch.
Gave us lots of fun out there. Again, this car just puts on a real show here in the sim, as Raul Guardia is going to be our winner today over Martinez by roughly 2 seconds in the end. Kept him honest at the very least. Pepe Puentes behind in 3rd. Jose Melia was P4, followed by Jeff Randall in 5th. Pablo Hoglar kind of sat on his own for much of the latter half of the race there for 6th place. Crosta eventually getting 7th over Santa Maria, who gave us a lot of fun there coming down into yard sale. Riaño was 9th, and Sanchez rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, we do have Philip Burke, and then Augustin Tina in 12th place. Victor Guararda in 13th. Ivan Fornos in 14th. Dan Hell finishes in 15th back here. Benyako in 16th, Benji Reig in 17th, Jermaine Suarez in 18th, and then unfortunately for Roberto Suarez as well as Herrero, they had issues in today's race.
Some serious issues for sure, and that'll hurt championship-wise, but we're still quite early in the season. Like I said, I do like the way that this track suits these cars, Joey, but the rain, I think, is part of what gave us so many thrills today.
Yeah, anytime you introduce more variables, I think in racing, it's called the great equalizer, right? Anytime the rain comes out, it kind of brings other drivers up towards the front of the field that maybe aren't the best at qualifying, but understand how to slide a car around or understand how the racecraft works when not everybody is at their absolute limit in terms of that 10th speed. So, yeah, it was a great car and track combination. Skinny little cars on a skinny little racetrack means that you can move around. You combine it with the rain and everybody slip sliding. It was a ton of fun to watch.
Certainly. And looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to get any interviews today. Sadly, would love to hear some thoughts, but maybe next week we can ask about how the rain was. As we want to give a big thank you to the community for bringing us on for the coverage, as well as to the team today, Joey, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, another place that often will see rain, we've got Suzuka. That'll be October 9th at 2:15 p.m. Eastern. And then besides that, we had the Nürburgring last week for the Skip Barbers, but this time it's going to be in the bigger cars that don't have downforce. Grand Prix Legends will head there as we go there for October 4th. Don't forget to check out our other broadcasts we have on our screen now. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.